All right, guys, Mr. Stark back here. This is going to be part 2 of how to separate your Category 5E or Cat 6 cable before it goes into your RJ45 plug. So what you're looking at here, once again, is a very small plug. As described earlier, the sheath of the cable has to go in a certain distance, and the wires have to go all the way in till they get past the little copper brass tabs that are at the left side tip of this. And just to explain once again, the sheath has to come in as far as this, so that when it's crimped, this little piece of plastic will then go into the crimper and it'll push down on the sheath, and you can see how if you end your sheath here, it's all conductor in here. So the hardest part when we're doing this is to separate the cable. So for lack of time, I've just kind of showed you how these are already separated. And I pulled on them to take away any little curlies that are stuck within the cable. And there's quite a bit, because the twists that are within the cable to begin with, you really got to pull them out so that they're nice and straight. So what I'm going over here is the scheme that we're going to be using. So if you take a look at my sheet, we're going to be using the T568B scheme. And that B scheme is more often used than the A scheme. So what's the difference between the two? It really isn't. As long as you stay to the same scheme, everything will work. So if you're doing B scheme, you got to stay B scheme from the server room all the way back to your work area outlet. And how this goes is, if you're looking at your pairs of cables, you've got a predominantly white color going with white, then orange. Then you've got predominantly orange with white. So let me show you what that looks like. If you look at my cable, I've got predominantly white with a little bit of orange, and then orange sometimes with a little bit of white, depending on the cable manufacturer. Same thing here. I've got white green. Here's white green. And then it goes blue white. So you notice that's the next color. Right here, I'm sorry, predominantly blue with maybe a little bit of white, depending on the manufacturer. Sometimes it's just a solid color. And we usually remember this by white, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. But some manufacturers have that secondary piece in it. And you'll notice it here on this cable. So if I'm looking at this, I've got white, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. We have to get these inside this cable in that order. So you can see the nonsense that's involved with this. This is not a pass-through RJ45 plug or connector. Pass-through ones, the wires will come through, and then it makes it easier for you. We're going to start off with the harder versions first. So now that I've got these kind of separated where they need to be, what I'd like to do is just kind of pull them next to each other so they're still where they need to be, side by side. And you'll notice I'm going to kind of pull on these again, stretch them out a little bit, and get them in that proper order before I cut the ends of these and try to slide them into the connector. So we're going to continue looking at this, making sure that we're separated as we should be. And I'm going to do this once again before and notice how I started off long. No sense starting off short. You're going to cut this off anyways. So let's take a look at my setup. White, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green. And I got to move this brown, so I'm going white, brown, brown. Look at this and then look at your sheet again. White, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. Now that I think I have them pretty close to where they need to be, we're going to put them even closer, pinching them in, getting them all lined up. And notice this technique where I just kind of pull them and get them where they need to be. You may have one or two cables that cross over each other. You kind of want to avoid that. Once again, before I cut it, white, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. Now I'm going to cut these And before you slide these into the cable, you're going to want to make sure that you have enough cut off and your tab is down. Your viewing window needs to be facing you. And you're going to shove them in. White-orange will be all the way to the left. So let me get these where they need to be. Slide them into their little grooves. We'll push this sheath all the way in like I showed you. The sheath should come all the way in. Let's give it a nice little push. And then you're going to take a look at where the sheath is. And then before you crimp, you're going to want to look at your color scheme again. Hard to see now, but at least you've got a viewing window. White, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. And look at it from all angles. Does the wire come all the way to the end as it should? Yup. Does the sheath come all the way in to where it's getting crimped? Flip it around so you can see the opposite side and make sure you didn't cut wires on an angle. Does your brown conductor go all the way to the end? It appears as though it does. Let me fold that around. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. Want to make sure that brown goes all the way in there. And then what you're going to do is look at your crimpers. There's an entry side, and you'll notice the tab is facing down. This is the RJ45. This would be the RJ11, which is a smaller tab. And you got to make sure that you're putting it in the right way. Tab side down, put it in, put a little pressure so you're kind of pushing on it, and then squeeze until you hear the click. Once you've heard the click, you could then take a look at it again and you'll see what actually happened in this. You can see here the sheath is being compressed by that plastic piece that I told you. That's what holds the cable into the connector. So we know we're crimped in there in a perfect spot. Now you can see these tangs are now pushed in. They displace the conductor. And then you could take a look at your color scheme again. And if we're doing the B scheme, it's pretty hard to see. That's why you got to get it right on the first try. White, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. The B scheme has been properly terminated, and it looks like it's a keeper. So the only thing we're going to do next is do the other end. And once we do the other end, we'll stick it into this video data voice tool and map it out and see if it works. See you at the next video.